Okay, well, Stefanie Powers was a true child of Hollywood. She was a teen when she first signed a movie contract, and the very, very talented actress went to work alongside some of the biggest names like John Wayne, Lana Turner, Anthony Hopkins, Bing Crosby. But it was as the jet-setting crime-fighting wife of Robert Wagner in the TV series Heart to Heart, an absolute fave, where she found global fame. Well, this award-winning actor has now shared the stories of her secrets, her travels, her loves in the memoir One from the Heart. I'm delighted to be joined by Stefanie Powers from Los Angeles. Now, good morning and welcome, Stefanie.
Good morning to you, Kerri-Anne. I want to say hello to all my pals in Down Under. And it's been far too long. You reminded me before we went on the air that it's been 12 years. My goodness, it's been 12 years. I'm long overdue for a trip among you.
Well, we absolutely agree. Yes, it has been too long. But as I mentioned in the intro, you know, the people who are your mates, your friends, who you grew up with, Linda Evans, Nancy Sinatra, Jill St. John, it really was, you know, a show business phenomenon to grow up with the talent as you did. And, of course, you graduated into the wonderful world of movies. How did you feel about it in those days?
Well, we didn't all actually grow up together. Some of them were a little bit ahead of me. But we were all in... Hollywood was a much, much smaller community in those days. So if there was a ballet class and there was a wonderful teacher and the best teacher in town, that's where everybody sent their children. So we were constantly together, thrown in together for little parties or special events. Everybody had their Easter parties at the Beverly Hills Hotel. So everybody that was around the same community growing up wound up spending time with each other. And then, of course, separate lives took people away, and we would all somehow reconvene later on in our lives. And today, because there are an awful lot of us dropping off the perch, we reconvene quite a great deal more frequently.
And who are some of your friends that you catch up on a regular basis today?
Well, I always stay in touch with Robert Wagner. You know, he's a great mate of mine, and I love him dearly, and we spent so much time together, and we're in touch on a regular basis. Then there are others. You know, we're all. I recently saw Linda Evans because we recently did something for public broadcasting here called The Pioneers of Television. You see, way back in the 1960s, I did a television series called The Girl from U.N.C.L.E., and it was my first experience in television. I'd been under contract to Columbia Pictures, and I wasn't allowed to do television. And I didn't realize it at the time, and nobody really made any issue of it. But The Girl from U.N.C.L.E. was the first time that a woman had been featured as a star of an hour-long television series ever, at least in the history of our television. And so I guess that qualified me as some kind of a pioneer. I thought I was a pioneer because I had oxen waiting at the door, and I made my own butter.
Well, groundbreaking indeed. In fact, you mentioned Robert Wagner. What a delightful, charming guy. And let me tell you, when I met him and he was standing there in a tuxedo doing a show, I interviewed you on Midday. This is what he, in fact, had to say about your relationship.
We've been together for quite a long time. You know, we made this series in the pilot in 1978, and we did 5 years of that. Now we've done these movies, and we've traveled together a lot. And we worked together once before when I was doing a series called It Takes a Thief. That's when that isn't when I met Stefanie. I met Stefanie before that. When she was just a little girl, I picked her up out of her crib, you know, put her over my shoulder and patted her on my...
That's so cute. I threw up all over him. It was terribly embarrassing. Cemented our relationship.
Fond
Oh
memories?
God, that must be lovely. That's a lovely. Just I'm hearing it. You know, it must be lovely to see too. Well, he's just as charming as that in real life, I must say.
Indeed. And of course,
But that,
in your
you know,
book, One from the Heart, you talk about your animal activism, clearly the wonderful stories and some of the sadder stories of your life. You had a terrific relationship with William Holden, and we sadly lost him, and he was the one who introduced you to Africa.
Yes, indeed. I must say, sort of preface this by saying that I never really wanted to write a book about myself. I never really thought that I was very interesting. I was always much more interested in other people and other places. And but I had two sort of life-changing events that occurred to me in 2009. One was the death of my mother, with whom I was unusually close. She was my best friend, my best pal. We traveled a lot. We laughed all the time. She was a great sort of... She was always my mother. I never, you know, she drew the line at certain things. There was always criticism. There were always manners. There were always, you know, rules and regulations. But as I became an adult, we became really close friends. And she lived with me in the latter part of her life, and I was with her at her death. It was an enormous lesson, you know. It was as if, you know, we always think our parents are teaching us how to live. Well, they don't stop teaching us, because she even taught me how to die with dignity. And then right on the heels of that, we discovered that I had lung cancer, and I had to have part of my lung taken out. So while I was recovering from both of those life-changing events, I went through a lot of my mother's personal effects, and I discovered that everything I threw away, she saved. And
wonderful.
Thank God for that, because there were diaries, there were photographs and letters that I had sent her from all around the world, and it recalled a time when life was different, you know. We fail to realize how much it's all changed, and how rapidly it's all changed, and how some of this social networking that we're all doing, while it seems fabulous, there's always a downside to it. And the downside, I think, is kind of the loss of intimacy and the loss of what real friends are, and who real friends are, not the fictional ones you have on the internet.
Yes. Well, I've got to say, there's nothing.
And I wanted to
more...
recall some of that.
Well, it's wonderful.
And I also wanted to. Sorry.
Well, I was just saying, wrapping it up
I-
with this wonderful book, the marvellous moments, and the closeness to your mother, and the fact she saved the memories of your life. It's great to hear, and we're very glad, because we in fact think you are super interesting, as opposed to your original view. But Stefanie, thank you so much. It's great to talk to you again. You have had
There's
a
the
most...
book.
Yep. It's called One from the
There's
Heart.
the book, and you can get it on Amazon. But it's being published in the UK March the 28th. So if you are traveling in the UK, you can get it there, or you can get it on Amazon.com.
Well, there's nothing wrong with a
Just
wonderful one-on-one conversation that the internet always can't give you, but the good part of the internet is you can buy the book over it. And thank you, Stefanie Powles. Thank you for your time. You enjoy the rest of your day in Los Angeles. Good morning.
Thank you so much.